Wow, Big Daddy and friends, we're back. And you know what? I'm speechless, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but so be it. I am honored and blessed and fortunate to have my friend, the voice of pretty much everything, the Super Bowl, MLB championship games, All-Stars. I don't know what else Joe hasn't done, but I'm sure we're going to find out. Everyone, welcome, Joe Buck. How you doing, Joe?
I'm good, Rich, or can I call you Big Daddy? I mean, it does say Big Daddy right out of your left ear.
Of course, man. Of course. You know, we're family, so you can use that.
I know, but I want to be formal. We're doing an interview, but it's good to see you. It's good to see your face, and let me just be the first to say, between the two of us, to know Big Daddy is to love him, and I'm lucky to call you a friend. So happy to do this.
Well, no, thank you. It's your name comes up so many different ways, and it's always like, hey, I know who Joe Buck is. That's the guy, and it's kind of funny because look, everyone's on social media, and you have these memories that come up all the time. And look, I was blessed to be at your wedding, and what a great 5 days I had there. I think it took me like another 5 days to get over that week.
Oh.
That was a fun time, and I was so grateful and thankful to be there. But so anyway, you got a lot of stuff going on besides football and baseball. So I'm so happy to see that you've diversified. Meaning, I'm like, wow, Joe's doing Jeopardy. I'm like, yeah, cool, man. I got to hear about this. So.
Kind of crazy. They reached out to my agent, which I hate even saying, but they reached out to my agent at the end of last year, and I went and met with them, I would say the end of November, beginning of December, and they were putting together a list of their guest hosts, and I wanted to be on it. And I think they wanted to make sure that I could handle it. I had an informal conversation with them for, a couple of hours, and walked out of there like, this is something I want to try. I don't think it was ever anything I wanted to do long term, but I felt like if they were going to try people from all different aspects of television, I wanted to be considered, and I wanted to show what I could do. So I worked hard at it. You don't just show up and host Jeopardy. I went back and for my research, I bought a couple of seasons on Netflix of Jeopardy and watched it really anytime I worked out, anytime I was on a plane, because it's one thing to be a fan of the show and to watch it and kind of understand it. It's another to watch it knowing you're going to host it, and you got to figure out, okay, how do they get into breaks? How do they come out of commercial breaks? What's the mechanics for Final Jeopardy? Just little things they do. How do they even start the show? It's something that we all watch, but you don't really pay attention to it until you have to do it yourself. So I put some work in. I went and practiced on a Monday. I think it was in May. And then came on Tuesday and started shooting shows at like 11 a.m. and walked out of there at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening in Los Angeles. And I had 5 shows under my belt, and I felt really good about it. And I was glad with the way it showed up on TV. And they left a lot of my humor in there, which I was really happy about. So it was a blast. I'm glad I did it. Kind of a bucket list thing. It was never really on my bucket list, but I'm glad I was able to check it off, fictitiously.
Well, I'm sure it was incredible, because it's like whatever you touch, you're like magical, and this is from knowing you now, I think now 10 years, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And, I admire watching. It's like, now that I have direct, I've always had the NFL package, and you're like, all right, what game is Joe calling? Like you're looking around, and in the paper, actually here in New York, if I'm not at a game, I'll read the paper, obviously, and then it tells you who's working what game.
Yeah, well, that means a lot to me. People will say that, and I'll meet people in passing, not friends like you and me, but just people in passing on an airplane or whatever. And they'll say, I really enjoy you and Troy, and I can tell the two of you are good friends. And that's what I love hearing, because we are. And I'm glad that comes across on the air. He knows I've got his back and vice versa. It's kind of a high pressure job. I think it's more high pressure now than it's ever been, doing live anything on television, with social media and people almost feeling like they're waiting for you to make a mistake or say something that can get you in trouble, even if it's not intended in a way that it's taken. So it's a high wire act, and it's a good feeling to know that the guy I'm standing next to is my friend, above being my coworker, and so that's the beauty of it. And when people tell me, I'm glad you like listening to my games, but I remember Rich, my dad, telling me a long time ago, when I was just starting in this business. He said, nobody cares if the announcer is hot in the booth or cold, or if the announcer's tired, or if, they played golf the day before. Nobody's there to listen just to you. They want to watch the game. And if you get hit by a bus going into the stadium, they're still going to play the game. And you need to broadcast that way and know that, for you want to see your Giants, or you want to see whatever. That's why people are tuning in. And that's a good perspective that I got from my dad, 30 plus years ago.
Well, listen, one legend following another. It's, you don't get too much of that these days, but see, I get it because I'm obviously, and we're in the same world, so I even like, I remember going to a game in Cleveland and you and Troy were calling the game, and you both are like, Big Daddy, what are you doing here? And I'm like, because you guys are there. Otherwise, I would just be down on the field or, whatever.
But you're amazing. I mean, where you pop up is sometimes it's like, where's Waldo? It's like, where's Big Daddy this weekend or on a Monday night or whatever? Your friend net is so big that I'm sure you can just throw a dart at a map of the United States and there's going to be somebody near where that dart hits that you're good friends with. So, we certainly travel a lot, Troy and I, and I'm double dutying it in October when baseball playoffs are going and the World Series and everything else. But it's good to see a friendly face. I think that's the beauty of it. When you come in the booth, it's like, all right, that there's a friendly buddy that is there to just say hi. And in this world where I think we're all feeling more isolated and distant from one another, unfortunately, it's just simply good to see a friendly face.
Yeah, it's it's important, obviously when you're in that house, as we say, stadiums, and you're there, you got to be there. So it's like I make it a point to get up there, whether it's for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, and then boogie out. Hey, I saw Joe, I saw Troy, they saw me, and boom, because you might see me walking around somewhere, you'll be like looking down, going, that Big Daddy right there?
Yeah. Well, you're easy to spot. I mean, let's be honest. It's a good thing you're not on like a most wanted list, because you really can't hide. So when I see you, it's funny. I can be calling a game for millions of people and concentrating on what's going on in the field, and then it's like, oh, there's Big Daddy, and there you are. And then shortly thereafter, you're in the booth and we're hanging out for a minute. So the unfortunate part of it is the only time we get to catch up, really, other than doing this conversation, is in those little moments, and we're bound to however long the commercial break is or a quick halftime thing, and then I'm back to work. So that's kind of the downside of all that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? 5 minutes is better than no minutes.
That's right. So I'll take it.
I'll take it too. So it's you don't get to see everybody all over the, obviously last year was all restricted and whatnot, but this year I plan to get back out on the road and get into the swing of things. And then it's funny, you talk about being thrown into a whole different world. It's like me, for instance, with Fox and Friends. Look, I still have my insurance business and I'm still working with everybody, but who would ever thought that someone would have had the nerve to give me a mic and me run around at Super Bowls interviewing people, And
on one hand, I agree with that. On the other, I think authenticity now is at a minimum, and it's scarce and hard to find. So for you, you're just what you see is what you get kind of guy. And I think there's a lot of value in that. And I think more than ever, people can spot a fraud. People can spot somebody that's trying to be something that they're not, that's trying to be in with people that they're not. And so I understand it. On the other hand, like, hey, this guy's, you're well liked and for good reason with, as I said earlier, a big net and large pool to swim in of friends. But I think that authenticity just comes through. Like I said with Troy and me, our friendship comes through. And I think, that's kind of the funny thing. It can be a very impersonal thing being on television or being in the media. But I do think you have to be true to who you are. And if you're not, you're going to be found out really fast. So I understand it. It's a good hire by them.
Yeah, it's we're actually working on something. Me and Brian Kilmeade, we're working on a sports business show. And Brian being the lead up guy, I would never, my ego isn't big enough to say, it's the Big Daddy show. And, I'd rather.
Well, that's good because Brian's is. So his ego's completely unchecked. And I think you're right about that. So let him be the ego guy and you can just come in and clean up the mess.
Yeah. That's I'm an offensive lineman at trade. So let him be the quarterback. I can do my job. And it's real cool because we've been working together, him and I, for years now. And now we're bringing a whole different element to the, pretty much my access, my experience, my relationships, and talk about things that besides scores and highlights and all that. And also it's a way to, we're doing a segments on New York City restaurants where all those places that suffered for, 18 or almost 2 years now, Big Daddy's tailgate and use each particular restaurant to show off their food and also let everyone know that New York City is back.
Well, yeah, that's great. And here's my wife with a mask.
Oh, wow.
Right now.
Hi, Big Daddy.
Jeez, coming in hot. We're having a conversation. I know.
Yeah, I know.
Your ego will let you not be a part of it, but can I,
finish?
Well, well, I love you too. You know that.
I love you. Happy belated. I hope your birthday was great.
Thank you. Yeah, it was awesome and a lot of fun. And the golf outing and that at the same time really wiped me out, man. I needed like 2 days to like sleep and even turn off my phone because it was fun, but like I said, we're moving the golf outing back to June like we always do, and I hope the both of you are there, and that'll give me more time to prepare and not have two things at once.
Yeah, well, I think everybody's schedule is being pieced together because everything got pushed, and so then it's like, well, how do we fit all this stuff in that's been on the sidelines for a year now? And we've got to find the right time. And then there are spikes with, different variants, whatever's going on, and there's restrictions. So everybody's schedule's a little bit up in the air. But I think we've all proven that we're pretty malleable. We can change the way we do things. There she goes, ladies and gentlemen.
Michelle buys her buck.
You just know her as buys.
Yeah, that's all I do. I always call it buys.
And I don't feel comfortable with you knowing my wife for longer than I've known my wife, but I guess we'll just kind of let that go.
Listen, I know a lot of people longer than I even know her.
No, I know. And you were saying about that show. I think any show that shows that business is back to normal and pre-pandemic, there's great value in that. And I think that I think back to what I did, was lucky enough to be there at Citi Field a couple of weeks ago when they had the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and seeing that and going back to that time in our lives and remembering that, everything shut down. But 6 days after 9/11, despite the horrific attack on our country, baseball was back, and it was a way of saying we're going back to life as we know it as Americans. And that was very important. And people, you don't even have to be a sports fan to understand the importance of what sports represented then. So I just I'm glad you're doing that show because New York needs it, and we need to show that we're getting back to life as we know it.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's something that like Brian and I have spoken about. I've spoken to producers and Pete Hegseth, who's another dear friend, and he's a Fox and Friends host on the weekends. So we're excited to get that up and running. But and I'll let you know when that happens. So,
yeah, please. I'd love to be a part of it any way I can. We need the Giants to go like 14-0 to start a season so that we're up there just every friggin' week because it's just great. People, I always get accused of, oh, you hate the Yankees, oh, you hate the Mets, and it's because I'm not there only for the New York team, or I'm not there only for the Boston team, or I'm not there only for the Chicago team. I have to get excited for both sides, and fans don't like that because, especially in baseball, they hear their hometown announcers. You do the game in a slanted way. That's how I did it. You do it for the hometown crowd that's watching and listening and living and dying every day. But when you're in New York and somebody says that, in New York, it's kind of done in a fun way. Like, oh, you got to be nice to my Yankees or whatever. If they only knew. I mean, if I could pick anywhere to be on any weekend, it'd be New York. I mean, that's the place you want to be. And, my daughter lives there now. Which gives me another reason to want to go up there. So being in and around New York is special for me. And to get a chance to get the best seat in the house at a Giants game or a Jets game or a Yankees game or a Mets game is it's beyond anything I ever dreamt of when I was a little kid.
Yeah, it was funny. I got to see your daughter for 2 years in a row, when they were doing the Thursday night games.
Yeah.
And they're not doing it this year. So she's not going to get her Umberto's pizza delivery that I used to give her.
I mean, she's like, oh my God, Big Daddy brought more pizza. I can't keep eating this. But she kidding. She's like, it's too good. So she loved you. Again, when your kids get old enough to where you can kind of start sharing your friends with your kids in an adult way, like, they see you as an adult, you see her as a young adult, and you get to know her and vice versa. There's just nothing better. So, yeah, she loved being around you on that set and loved being around those guys. And, Michael was so good to her, Howie, Terry's like another dad to her. It's very much a family feel at Fox. And I don't think it's that way at other networks. I've never been at any other network, but my wife has. And I just know that it's pretty unique what we have at Fox. And it's a lot of the same people that were there in 1994 when Fox Sports started up. They're still there now. And some of the guys that were working, as runners on our crew are now my bosses. And that's kind of the cool thing. Fox promotes from within and they take care of their people.
Yeah, it's whether I'm in New York or LA, it doesn't matter. Our boy Jacob Bowman's out there in LA, and he's like, I love him to death, and
yeah,
it's just when even though you have two different entities, you got the news side and then you got the sports side, and but I was always the guy in the middle. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
You go from one to the other, and then hey, it is what it is.
But that's good for us too, because when there's a trusted person that's kind of sitting there in the middle, I'm sure it is for Michael. It is for me to know that if they're good enough for you over there, they're good enough for us, and that's kind of how I've always looked at it since you've been involved. And I joked about Brian earlier. Brian's been a good friend and somebody that. Anytime I go on in the morning, I end up going on with Brian, and I love it. And I've seen him at Super Bowls, and I've done specials with him, and he's a talented, great guy. So there's a lot of good people there too.
Yeah, I told him when we were down in Miami a couple of years ago, I said to him, I go, you know what? I'm going to see Joe before you are because I'm already in Miami. You're not getting in until Thursday, so I'm going to steal that interview from you.
Well, I mean, come on, Fox News. For God's sake, it's the Super Bowl. They just don't send Kilmeade till Thursday. They're trying to save on hotel rooms. I
told the producer, I said, I know where Joe's going to be on Tuesday night. He's going to be with Michelle. They're going to be out to dinner, blah, 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 blah. I will beat all of you to the punch. Oh, Big Daddy, blah 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 blah. I'm like, all right, I'll stay out of it.
Yeah, well, I did a long interview with Brian where we walked around the block talking about the pressure of doing a Super Bowl, for 100 million people and doing it live and knowing that everybody's at parties saying you're a moron if you say something that doesn't make a lot of sense. So on one hand, it is the ultimate high wire act. I mean, nobody has an audience like that and an assignment like that in today's world. On the other, it's just a thrill and it's fun and you have to embrace it and enjoy it. And now I've done 6 of them, I think, and each one has gotten more fun. So that's a good sign.
So tell me about daddy issues. I've been following a little bit about it. I've been reading and watching. Give us a little lowdown on that.
It's a podcast because let's be honest, the world needed another podcast. There aren't enough of them out there. And I hosted with Oliver Hudson, who's my good friend. That's Kate Hudson's brother. And I have to name drop to tell you why I'm doing the show with him. Kate Hudson's brother, Wyatt Russell's brother, Kurt Russell's stepson, Goldie Hawn's son, Bill Hudson's son. So he's had he's been surrounded by so much talent and success. Oliver has had a great career. He was on a show called Rules of Engagement. He just had a show on ABC called Splitting Up Together. He's now doing a show on Fox called The Cleaning Lady. So it's not like he's not working, but he's got daddy issues, quote unquote, going back to when he was 9 or 10, when his dad, Bill Hudson, kind of left the family and then Kurt stepped in. And there's a void in his life. My daddy issues are all from the good stuff. My dad was my best friend. My dad was my hero and somebody I wanted to be just like as a Hall of Fame announcer, but a great person. And so trying to measure up to that example, those are my daddy issues, but that's all from a good place. So we interview a lot of people. We've had, my God, Eddie Vedder and David Spade and Adam Sandler and, a really good list of guests. And everybody's got a dad somewhere. Maybe they passed away. Maybe they were in their life. Maybe they were not in their life. But everybody's got a story about how they grew up, and kind of having that through line of, tell us about your dad has been fun it's been fun to explore for us.
No, that's great. So now here's the fun part of the show. Now this is where I'm going to sit back and I'm going to enjoy every second of it because this is big time. Joe Buck gets to ask me something that he may want to know, may want to share with other people. The mic is yours.
Okay. I'm going to ask you the simple question first, and that is, have you ever paid for pizza in New York?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Wow. That's a bit of an upset. I would have said the answer was no, but okay. Good to know. And secondly, I was thinking, and I think of Michael every time I see you because that's really the way I was introduced to you, through Michael Strahan. Are you as blown away by Michael's success? And I have one more question after this. Are you as blown away by Michael's success as I am? And I understand it, but my gosh, the guy just is a television dynamo and really as good a businessman as anybody I know.
I'm not. And you know why? Because remember, he was preparing for this world even when he was playing. Because remember, he was doing the show with, the baseball player, was it Rob Dibble? Rob Dribble?
I don't know.
Played for the White Sox. But he was doing that show. It was on Fox, and he was doing that weekly, and they were doing it out of his house. I remember he started doing that. And then, he's got the that fun, happy-go-lucky. He knows how to win people over. Like, he knows how to make someone smile. He knows how to light someone's button. We joke around about it all the time. Like, I'll say to him, I go, remember one thing. I knew you when, and I know how to keep you down. That's why I'm around. And,
that's right.
And we laugh about it because, we'll joke. Everybody calls me Big Daddy, of course, but I always call him. He'll call me KIDD, and I'll say, "Hey, Junior," because he's KIDD Junior. So it's like one of those things where even though we're 20 years of friendship or whatever it is, we're still always joking around and kidding around. And then when there's a serious side, you know, he's sat me down more times than I've ever sat him down.
Wow.
You know, and that's the truth. And the reason that I say this is because when people are your real friends and they're true to you, if they see something that they don't like or they're upset with, they're going to tell you because they care about you.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll never forget about him, because he did that to me once, and it was kind of like a blow, and I won't get into all of it, but it really woke me up, and I should have listened, but I didn't. But after the fact, I paid attention to everything that he's ever said to me because he's a guy from experience, even though I'm older than him. But I'm not shocked at the way his career has gone because he works hard. And I'll tell you, he is everywhere. I've done that trip to LA with him and then, you know, do Fox Sunday and then fly right back after.
That's crazy.
I was like, I just sat there and I was like, man, no one could say he doesn't work hard.
Yeah, but tell him to say no to a check sometime, will you? Just have him sit out one of these things, one of these times, so we have him longer. So here's my real question for you.
Sure.
You take care of so many people. You know, you're always there. You're always there with a smile. You're there with a pizza. You're there to have people lean on you. Who takes care of you? Who's the person that when they walk through the door, like you do for so many people, who's the person that when they walk through the door lights up your world?
Wow, that's you know, there's quite a few, to be honest with you. It's I used to always joke around. Look, I'm a single guy, so if I could date myself, I'd be perfect.
Boy, that's I think page 1 of the Narcissist Handbook. But go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, there's several people, and you know, obviously, without naming a lot of names, you know, you have friends that I know 5 off the top I could name, and they are there no matter what, you know, and they are whatever it is. And I will tell you this about your wife, okay, Michelle. When I had my aneurysm in 2008, and she reached out to me, and I remember she said to me, "Do you need me to come there to help you?" And I thanked her up and down and said, "No need, but thank you for even offering." That always stuck with me because I didn't tell a lot of people, but then when it got out and it happened and whatnot. But that I never forget about Michelle.
But she meant it, and that's why, you know, that's why I got married again. And I never thought I would. I never thought I'd go through a divorce. I never thought I'd marry again. And believe me, I never thought I'd have kids again. And now here I am at 52 with 3-year-old twin boys with Michelle, and she is the greatest person. I'm the luckiest guy in the world, and I'm at least smart enough to know that. And so she meant it, and she doesn't throw those things out there. So if you said, "Hey, I need you to be here at this time," she'd be there.
No, I know that, and I guess that's why you named your book Lucky Bastard, huh?
Yes, exactly. I've come out of the other end here and realized how lucky I am.
Well, listen, Joe, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us here at Big Daddy and Friends. And why don't you tell everybody your social media so they can follow you and keep up with all the things that you have going on?
Okay. My Instagram is at Kim Kardashian, and my Twitter is at Courtney Kardashian. I'm at Buck and at Joe Buck, and enjoy.
No, I gotta use. I'm gonna steal that from you.
All right.
That's a great one. So anyway, I will let you know what happens with our show, and we'll definitely have you on. I'll tell you, boy, kill me that you send your love and best.
Please do.
And until next time, everyone, make sure you check us out, Big Daddy and Friends. And Joe, have a great week. Oh, what game are you doing this week?
Well, I'm doing 2. I'm doing Houston and Carolina on Thursday, and then I get to go to Los Angeles to watch the Rams and Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. So that'll be a hell of a game.
Oh, well, you know, me and TB go way back, Tommy.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you could. We share an anniversary, and I'll tell you real quick. I'm in bed getting ready to have surgery on my brain, and he's in bed getting ready to have his Achilles or knee operated on. So he's texting me, "Hey, what's going on, Big Daddy?" Blah blah blah. I said, "Well, I'm about to have my head cracked open. I had an aneurysm." And if you would have saw the the caption that came across the phone, it was priceless. But
oh my God! But what I heard was they put his Achilles in your head, and they put your brain in his Achilles.
Yeah, exactly. But it worked for him, not for me. But I didn't get his looks or his athleticism.
Nobody's got his looks. The guy's got everything in the world. He's there's a bubble, there's a halo around him of light. I mean, he's not human. And, and yet, I guarantee you agree with this, a really normal, regular person to talk to. I can't act like I know him that well, but of all the players we talk to, I mean, just wonderful. So he has no jerk to him at all. He's just a great guy.
Yeah, he's real. So
yeah, he's real. That's a good way to put it. He's a real guy.
He's a real guy. So
are you, buddy.
I thank you so much, man, and I hope to see you sooner than later somewhere, and we'll catch up face to face.
All right, buddy. See ya.
All right, be well, and until next time, Big Daddy from Big Daddy and Friends. We'll see everybody real soon.